Chapter 33. An example needs to be made. It's been 48 hours since the message went out. Our action is more than conclusive. Society as a whole is electrifying and reacting with force. In all spheres of Epoxia, we are witnessing unprecedented upheaval. A large part of the population has risen up. Some even speak of a split within the army. Many generals have taken a stand against the government. Bases are closing and the representatives of power are no longer able to regain control of the situation. The government seems powerless. But nothing is certain. We'll have to go all the way. We'll have to fight on. I'm firmly convinced that we need to give a signal. A starting point for revolt. But what symbol should we aim for? What gesture will mark the beginning, the starting point for the great uprising? The more I think about it, the more I realize that our personal history could become that spark. Suddenly, I'm convinced. I exclaim. Gabriel! Find Warburg. It's time to take care of him. He pauses for a moment. Then reacts with force. Absolutely. I'm going to kill the man responsible for our father's death. It's up to us to set an example. He's right, says Jacques' calm voice. He walks around Gabriel and comes to me. He takes my hand. His approval reassures me. My brother's gaze hardens. He's resolved, nothing can distract him from his goal. He adds. That dog is going to die. In the space of an hour, our strategy is defined. Tonight, Warburg will go out. He's one of those officers who value their image above their function. That's why he's a regular at VIP parties. After a pirate connection to his secretariat. We soon learn of his plans for the evening, a big fiesta at the Pandemo. Niam, starting at 11 p.m. This was all the information we needed. I'm afraid the atmosphere is turning into a nightmare. It's 10 p.m. Gabriel and Fat Bill wait for their future victim to arrive. An hour later, Warburg finally arrives. His limousine, adorned with the emblems of the state's highest body, enters the airlock reserved for fashionable luminaries. His overprotected vehicle enjoys an impressive escort. Clearly, since our Epoxia broadcast, his popularity has plummeted. For the time being, however, he remains untouchable. My brother warns me of their imminent attack. Attack. Stealthily, the duo bypass the building and head for the service entrances. Here, various vehicles are parked. The incessant deliveries, staff and artist entrances will give them the opportunity to sneak into the square without too much trouble. The only problem, Big Bill. A titan of almost 3 meters in height is hardly discreet. The only solution is to use the low configuration. His limbs tense up. Nanotechnology suddenly makes him look normal. Mingling with a troupe of dancers, the two men enter unseen. The morphomasks they wear prevent automatic recognition by the surveillance cameras. They pass. They're in the square. The Pandemonium is one of those private clubs that use anti-gravity for recreational purposes. It's made up of gigantic spheres, glued together, each an independent room, where people dance and gorge themselves on every euphoric substance in existence. At the heart of this assembly is the main sphere in which Warburg usually has fun and in which he will perish. It's crowded tonight, and all the better for it. It's easier to blend in. The vengeful duo make their way from room to room, eventually arriving at the entrance to the main sphere. Immersed in the stream of overexcited customers, they enter the ball. Behind them, the door closes. They were momentarily trapped. The powerful echoes of thundering music reach them. The pressure suddenly shifts until they take off. The door in front of them opens and a torrent of sound and light engulfs them. The spectacle is dantesque. They plunge into a maelstrom of sound, violent and intoxicating. Enclosed in a suspended bubble, the master DJ begins the creation of a unique track. His hands come to life, creating rhythm in a magical way. First, he establishes the theme and defines the evolution of the track. From his eyes and skull, connecting threads emerge. This apparatus allows him to be totally in phase with the machine. His thoughts and gestures make aggressive notes pop out on an infernal tempo. Around this swirl of light and music, a furious crowd evolves. The absence of gravity allows for the most eccentric choreographies. Several micro-black holes enclosed in the walls of the ball cancel out gravity and create the illusion of interstellar space. Screens broadcast striking images, perfectly matched with the song. The duo now goes on the hunt. Warburg must logically be surrounded by his bodyguards. But we must already manage to spot them. After quickly circling the spacious room, they locate their prey and approach it. Behind their protégé, two molosses stand ready to ward off any unpleasant eventuality. As Big Bill returns to his original form, he passes behind one of the bodyguards. The second does not have time to sketch a gesture to draw his weapon. Gabriel, thanks to the new war functions that Jacques has endowed him with, has just transformed his left forearm into a sharp blade that crosses the head of the guard. Almost at the same time, Gros Bill literally blows each other's head off in his giant hands. Gabriel turns immediately to Warburg, who probably does not understand what is happening. He puts his hand on the shoulder of the general, who turned back brutally, his face displaying an expression of terror and intense stupor. The woman in front of him starts to scream. Warburg tries in vain to get out of his grip. The grip is too strong. Gabriel brandished the bloody blade before the general's pale face and decapitated him with a sharp blow. Then he extracts from his body a disc from which he places a face at the top of the severed head. Gabriel then orders the device to be activated. The disc immediately creates a force field around the head. The sphere becomes a glass-like appearance, and then the disc releases healing particles and various molecules necessary for brain survival. No endorphins or other anesthetic substances, however. There is no question of Warburg being released from his torments so quickly. He must suffer. It's time to run away. The alarm is already ringing. The micro-black holes cease to be active, and the many party people find themselves packed on the ground, in the flat bottom of the sphere, totally freaked out and amazed by the bloody spectacle. A sort of translucent bubble covers the general's head. Gabriel squeezes it against him and fires a burst of Mauser against the airlock door. The metal explodes in a deafening din, covering for a moment the screams of fear of the dancers. The two men rush out of the room and head for the windows far in front of them. A protective section, coming from the corridor, emerges on their right. It is composed of about 20 soldiers who fire immediately, injuring or killing many customers of the club. In the same way he already did it at the stadium on the day of my trial, Gabriel is doing a feat. A light suddenly emanates from all his being and a blinding ray pulverizes the squad. Then he joins Big Bill. The hysterical shrieks of the crowd fill the sphere. The two companions rush into the breach opened by the explosion of the canopy. They land 30 meters down, unharmed, and run with all their legs. Warburg's death will serve as an example. No one in Epoxia can ignore that an indomitable force is capable of opposing the authorities. Here they are back in our HQ. Gabriel and Gros Bill are welcomed at headquarters as heroes, but they remain serious and tense. Gabriel places the general's head on a table. Warburg's face offers a mask of terror and suffering. Eyes wide open seem to beg his executioners. Jacques has a mood move and approaches my brother and to our surprise, yells at him. Gabriel, you have accomplished your task. We had decided the death of this infamous individual and you have fulfilled this mission. But I find it unworthy of you to let this subman suffer. I ask you to cut short his suffering immediately. Gabriel justifies himself. He deserves to suffer. Jacques straightened brusquely, his eyes unbridled, as I had never seen him before. He approaches Gabriel and gives him a masterful slap. Then he takes half a turn and leaves the room while adding, "You make me ashamed. I'm sorry to have to tell you that you behave exactly the same way as he. We can't believe it." Gabriel took the hit, but it's as if we all had taken it with him. Our great scientist and father figure. Gabriel did not even sketch any reprisal. On the contrary, he bows his head. Doubt creeps in each of us and a deep silence follows the words of the uncle. After, the eyes meet, wonder. I think Jacques is right. Warburg's head is there. It is laid on the table, like a macabre decoration. Indeed, he has certainly suffered enough. I'm talking to my brother. Go ahead, Gabriel. His face twitches, his fists close and drops of sweat run down his temples. His eyes are filled with rage and hatred. Most of those standing there are a few steps back. Each of us knows the violent outbursts of fury that sometimes turn Gabriel into a wild beast. After a short hesitation, he raises his arm, directs a beam of light on Warburg's head and blows it up. Then he walks away without looking at us. The door closes behind him. The page is turned. Our father's death has just been avenged. This event is a violent conclusion to a chapter of my life.